I hate to say it, but I think the Nintendo Today app might actually be dead. Okay, now it's not actually officially dead.
Only mostly dead.
And I say that not just as a gut feeling, though I also had that, hence me looking into the stats in the first place, but, as I just said, we have the stats to back it up. Because if we take a look at this AppRain website, which tracks the download rate for Android apps over time, we can see exactly what's going on in the numbers here, and if we take a look at the line graph, we can immediately see it's not looking great, because it started off strong, and then pretty much immediately leveled off. But more tellingly, and damningly, is the average download rate per day, which we can see is fewer than 750 downloads per day on Android, which, needless to say, is pretty pathetic for a free app from a company as big as Nintendo. Especially considering that it's half what it used to be just 2 months ago, which is already a pathetic number by itself. Now, just to demonstrate to you that I'm not just calling it pathetic for the sake of it, let's compare it to some other Nintendo apps and see how it's doing by comparison. Because remember, Nintendo Today is free, unlike Nintendo Music, which is essentially a paid app considering you need a Switch Online subscription to take advantage of it. Well, if we scroll down here, we can see not only is the line graph already much healthier, showing a much steadier growth rate over time, we can see that's partly due to a much healthier download rate per day over the past 30 days, being 1.6 thousand downloads per day, again, for what's essentially a paid app, as compared to Nintendo Today's 740 downloads per day for an app that's totally free. Let's move on to the Nintendo Switch app, which is an app that recently got updated not long ago for the Switch 2 and actually is pretty useful these days, which might be a key reason why this app is performing much better than Nintendo Today, because this app is being downloaded over 9.3 thousand times per day, again on Android over the past 30 days. And even though its line graph is a little bit crazier, a little bit zany with some peaks and valleys, even accounting for that, even the lower days are well beyond what Nintendo Today is. And again, it's because this app actually has use. It has function. Another app being the Nintendo Switch Parental Controls app from Nintendo, which is a pretty niche app when you think about it, because it really only applies to families. Well, if we look at its download rate per day, once again, we have something that dwarfs Nintendo Today at 4.4 thousand downloads per day, again versus 740 for Nintendo Today over the previous 30 days on Android. So not only is Nintendo Today being completely Goomba stomped by all the other Nintendo apps, including the niche and paid ones, but they even kind of Goomba stomped themselves, because whatever momentum they had a few months ago is basically completely gone. And do you want to know who predicted this? This goofy guy right here, who said in a video a couple of months ago, Nintendo just did something dumb. And what that dumb thing was how Nintendo made it harder to share things within the app to others outside of it. Specifically in this case, applying to videos within the app, as if you try to record them or take a screen grab of them, you will just get a blank image instead. And that's not even at all, because just a few days after I made this video, Nintendo effectively shut down a Twitter account that was dedicated to sharing things about the Nintendo Today app by issuing a ridiculous amount of copyright strikes. Look at all this media that was taken offline. Gee, is it really any wonder why no one's downloading your stupid app because you've discouraged people from sharing anything from within it? How are people supposed to find out about it if you can't really even talk about it? Now, I don't think that one dumb decision is a sole reason for why the app is doing even worse than it was before, but I do think it at least is part of it. And again, it supports a fundamental misunderstanding of how people use the internet, which is the entire point I made in my previous video about this. Because this app, fundamentally, is completely pointless. Pretty much the entirety of this app is filler material, whether it's redundant details of games that have long since released, or videos of them, or news stories about a parade in Japan that none of us can even go to. And also in this case, they say that we went to the parade, but I don't know who we is in this instance. This app has no editorial voice, and it's not even signed off by anyone. That's a small complaint, but still it kind of irked me. Like, who the hell's we in this scenario? Nintendo went to their own parade, okay, that's cool, I guess. Even in the rare events where the app actually does break news, like in the dual release dates of the Zelda movie, it doesn't really even matter because it merely shows up everywhere else, whether on social media, on gaming websites, or videos like this. Speaking of which, I'm really gonna push my luck here and see if this video gets taken down by Nintendo for what I'm about to show next. Because one of the latest videos in the app almost shows a level of self-awareness Nintendo has about how stupid this app really is. Look, I'm not gonna lie, that actually is kind of funny. Adding lyrics to a song that clearly doesn't use any actual words, that's pretty cute. But is it really cute enough to warrant downloading an entire app and checking it every single day in the rare event you actually find something that's either useful or funny? I'd wager for most people, probably not. Instead, it's the kind of thing that's cute in the sense that if I passively came across it, whether on social media or TikTok or something, I'd briefly be amused. But are rare posts like that really worth downloading the entire app for? Again, I don't think so. And I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one who feels this way, and not just because of the abysmally low download rate, suggesting everyone who hasn't downloaded it really couldn't care less about it, but more because of a couple other reasons. For one, if you take a look at the scores for the app, they're among the lowest of any Nintendo app. Look at that red bar right there. It is far higher than, say, Nintendo Music. Look at that difference. Nintendo Music, again, is essentially a paid app, but people seem to, by and large, love it, as compared to this free app, where people really seem to dislike it. And we can compare that to another strongly disliked app, being Super Mario Run. Even this dislike meter, which, by the way, most of these reviews are purely based on the fact that this app costs, which I think is fair in this case, it's a full-on game, but most of those one-star reviews are from people who just didn't want to pay for it. And yet, if we compare that dislike meter to the one from Nintendo Today, we can see a much larger percentage of people actively dislike Nintendo Today than Super Mario Run, which is impressive considering one of those apps is completely free and is fairly inoffensive despite it being pointless, in the sense that it's not, actively wasting your money or is super glitchy or anything like that. And I think that might be because it does something even worse than wasting your money. It wastes your time. Now, despite this, I do have to be fair and point out the fact that the overall reviews are still on the positive end rather than negative, even though there are more negative reviews here than on the other apps. But I do have to wonder how many of those reviews are from the first few days and people actually were engaged with this seemingly interestingly new app before they completely just naturally fell off of it. Now, unfortunately, as far as I'm aware, there's no publicly accessible data for how often people are actually engaging with an app after downloading it, which means we have no idea whether those who do download it, the few that do, if they're still using it day to day or they've dropped it entirely. So I decided to do what is basically the next best thing from my perspective at least, and that's I asked our audience. That's an audience of hardcore Nintendo fans, which I would think would give us a generous look into how often people are actually engaging with it day to day. So let's see what our audience had to say. And this is based on so far almost 700 votes. Probably it's going to keep increasing from this point, but the trend seems to be pretty clear by this point in that so far 28% of people are saying that they are still using the app fairly regularly. So hey, for them, I'm happy. But the more concerning figure is the fact that 42% of them once downloaded the app and have already completely dropped it seemingly. And then we of course have 30% of the people who never downloaded it at all, which isn't great either, but I was more interested in how many people actually dropped the app versus are still using it. And again, this is not painting a very good picture, especially considering that this is again a hardcore group of Nintendo fans. If anyone were inclined to engage with this app day to day, I would think it would be our community, and seemingly even a good portion of them no longer are. So that again doesn't look great for the app, especially if we expand it to a broader consumer who I would think again would be less inclined to use it day to day, or maybe even less frequently than that. So by now, it should be pretty clear that Nintendo Today isn't exactly a popular app, whether it's due to the ratings or the amount of people actually downloading it, or the amount of people using it day to day. But regardless of what that number actually is, being somewhere above zero, I can't imagine Nintendo's actually happy with those stats. Because compared to the other apps, this one appears to be objectively, effectively a failure. So that brings me to my final point. What can Nintendo do to fix this? What can they do to make it an interesting app? And that makes me wonder myself, if I were Nintendo, what would I do to fix it? So I have 3 things that I would do if I were Nintendo to address these problems. And number 1 would be, I would actually give it interesting content, whether it's more interactive content, more engaging content. I would have it be more timely, more interesting, more behind the scenes details on games, and again, more interactive too. Ideally, I would want the app to do things you can't easily do elsewhere. I already covered this in my previous video about it, so I won't belabor the point too much, but it straight up needs better content. Point number 2 would be, enable sharing. Add a sharing link to every story in the app so people can easily share it to other venues, whether it's Discord or social media or wherever they want. And as part of that, make it so people can, again, take videos or pics from the app directly and share it elsewhere. Now, I have seen some reports of people saying that the app has been fixed and they're able to reshare that content again in the sense that they can take pictures and videos and it's not blocked anymore. But I don't know what they're talking about, because not only can I still not do it on my own app, but I checked with 3 other people today and all of them can't do it either. So I have no idea what that's about, and Nintendo should fix it so people can share whatever the content they want freely with others anywhere else. Because at the least, that gets people talking about the app. That makes people aware of the app, and Nintendo absolutely is freaking stupid for not making that the easiest thing possible for people to do right now, as that's such an easy way of raising awareness for an app that they want, I assume, people to download. finally, my third point is a little paradoxical in that I think Nintendo should ditch the app entirely. Get rid of it. It is almost fundamentally stupid and pointless, and I don't think there really is any saving it, no matter how much improved it is. I mean, maybe they can, I don't know. I also think their best bet would be to drop the app entirely and make it a part of the existing Switch app. This is an app everyone already has. Just add a little news tab down there. You already have room for it. Add a news tab like the PlayStation app already has. That will get people to engage with the content, especially if you add this little badge, little indicator saying there's new content. Well, hey, I'll click on over and check it out. Why not? It's an app I've already opened. Why not click over there and check it out? And I might even encourage people to reopen this app anyway, in the same way they want people to reopen Nintendo Today, especially as there's other things for them to do. So they may be more inclined to open an app for news when there's other things they can do with that too, especially if you can share that news with your friends already on your Switch friends list. It makes so much freaking sense. Get rid of Nintendo Today, make it a tab, make it an email. Okay, no, make it a tab in the app. Again, I don't understand why they just didn't do this from the beginning. It seems so much simpler and easier than running an entire separate app when you don't have the content, the exclusive content to support an app focus entirely around pointless news, or an app that shouldn't be about pointless news, but it effectively ended up being that way because there's not enough unique content to support it otherwise. So there you have it, everyone, my follow-up video to say Nintendo Today is basically dead as is, and that if Nintendo wants to save it, they need to address these issues pretty quickly. Otherwise, I can't see a path forward for this app, and I think it's going to continue to decline, you know, besides occasional spikes in action just based on whatever news the app does manage to put out. But at this point, I suspect we're going to keep seeing a slow decline over time because they've given me no reason to suspect otherwise. So on that note, that's all I've got for you. Let me know in the comments below what you think of this. Do you think Nintendo can save the app? Should they merge it with its Switch app in general? Again, let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear all your thoughts on this. So with that, thanks for watching. I'll catch you later. Bye, everyone.